Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh, and good day to all participants and to the organizer of the conference. I am Zuhairatun Radzi, and today I would like to present my research which titled Determinants of Tax Non-Compliance Intention among SME Owners in Malaysia, the Moderating Effect of Religiosity. Before further discuss, the following are the contents which will be present today. I will begin with an introduction of my research, followed by the theory and research hypothesis, discussion on research design and methodology, data analysis and main findings, and finally, this presentation will end with a conclusion. The issue of non-compliance have become the main focus in tax administration, especially in countries that implement the self-assessment system. Studies on voluntary tax behavior have been conducted in Malaysia, and as released by SME Corp on 29 of September 2017, SMEs contribute to 98.5% from the total of business establishment in Malaysia, and it is expected to grow higher due to its importance and high contribution towards national income. Thus, it is expected that more income taxes should be collected from this group of taxpayers. Unfortunately, less consideration has been given to the SME owners in taxation studies, despite its importance towards Malaysia, and needs more attention from regulatory bodies. A huge number of total establishments of SME shows its high contribution to the national income if they comply with the tax regulations. But based on the data provided by the Inland Revenue Board of Malaysia in 2017 annual report, the audited cases resolved for SMEs was 529,010 cases in 2015 and for 541,798 in 2016. Despite small increase of 2.4%, it still may be considered as an indicator of tax non-compliance behavior problem. Due to the unavailability of data regarding tax collection from SME owners by the IRBM, information on tax audit carried out by the IRBM are used to determine taxpayers' compliance level. Tax authorities, academicians, and non-governmental organizations all over the world are concerned about the serious problem of tax non-compliance among SME owners. There is high opportunity of SME owners to involve in cash business transaction, and the possibilities not to declare them since there is lack of proper documents to act as evidence. This appeared to be mostly overlooked by the tax authorities. Thus, there is one important reason that motivates this study which regards to religiosity of taxpayers. Religious value held by taxpayers may solve the tax non-compliance issue in Malaysia and is recommended employing self-employed taxpayers since the chances of self-employed taxpayers to engage in tax non-compliance is higher than salaried taxpayers. Furthermore, the role of religiosity as moderator also has not been widely discussed in discussing SME owners' tax behavior. Resulting from the problem statement, the research objective have been developed. Research objective number 1 is to determine the influence of attitude, subjective norm, perceived behavioral control, and religiosity towards the tax non-compliance intention of SME owners. And objective number 2 to determine whether religiosity will be able to moderate the relationship between the determinants of tax non-compliance and the tax non-compliance intention of SME owners. As for this study, it adopts theory of planned behavior as the underpinning theory and a theory of religious commitment used as supporting theory. For the independent variables, attitude towards tax non-compliance, subjective norm, perceived behavioral control, and religiosity, while the dependent variable is tax non-compliance intention. The moderator is religiosity. And for the hypothesis, all direct hypotheses are positively or negatively influenced tax non-compliance intention of SME owners, whereas for the moderating effects, the positive or negative relationship between independent variables and the tax non-compliance intention is stronger or weaker when SME owners' religiosity is low or high. This study adopts the quantitative methods of a survey in collecting the data. The population of this study are 496,426 firms. A simple random sampling is employed. A sample of 580 is chosen using guideline by Krejci and Morgan, Yamani, Israel and Cohen. And for the instrument of this study, TPB construct adopts hypothetical scenarios used by Atzen, Beck and Atzen, Hamid and Saad, but with some modification. As for religiosity, instruments by Bang et al., Muhammad Ali, Mohdali and Pop, Mohdali et al., Moklis, Muslihah, Worthington et al. Has been adopted, but with some modifications. A total of 580 questionnaires are distributed to the respondents, and finally leaving 422 usable questionnaires, or a response rate of 72.8%. This is followed by data analysis using SPSS and PLSM, and the model specification comprises of two submodels, which are measurement model and structural model. 6 constructs with a total of 44 items are developed as reflective models, and the table, 3 tables here, suggest that the internal consistency reliability, convergent validity, Forner-Lacker criterion, and HTMT criterion is satisfactorily achieved. And for the assessment of significance of the structural model, for the direct effect, the R-square value of the direct model is 62.0%, while the moderating effect, the R-square value 63.30%. For direct effect, attitude towards tax non-compliance, subjective norm, and perceived behavioral control are significant in influencing the tax non-compliance intention. And for the moderating effect, the effect of religiosity as moderator on the relationship between attitude towards tax non-compliance and perceived behavioral control and the tax non-compliance intentions are significant. Okay, for hypothesis 1, H1 is supported and in line with the TPB and prior studies. Hypothesis 2 is supported. Finding is in line with the TPB and prior studies. Hypothesis 3 is supported. However, the finding is contradicted with the TPB and prior studies by these studies. But interestingly, finding is in line with those of Hamid 2013 and Sudirtana and Mendra 2018. However, for hypothesis 4, it is significant and is not supported, and finding is also contradicted with the theory of religious commitment and prior studies. For hypothesis 1A, is supported, and it points out that a high level of religiosity will discourage the tax non-compliant intention of SME owners. Hypothesis 2A found that it is not significantly moderate and is not supported, where it indicates that Malaysian SME owners' religiosity does not affect the influence of the subjective norms on the tax non-compliance intention. For hypothesis 3A, it is supported, and finding shows that in the presence of religiosity, an increase in the power of control in a non-compliance section will discourage the tax non-compliance intention of SME owners. And finding is also in line with prior studies. For the conclusion, as overall, it provides empirical evidence of extending the TPB model by incorporating theory of religious commitment to explain SME owners' tax non-compliance intention. Hypothetical scenarios used in this study are formulated to provide answers to achieve the research objective. And it also provides evidence of the main effect and moderating effects of religiosity in explaining and enhancing the understanding of SME owners' tax non-compliance behavior. However, there is also a limitation in this study where it is not all inclusive factor included in this study, and it is recommended for future research to consider the economic factors as well as non-economic factors which are not covered in this study to explain the non-compliance behavior of SME taxpayers, and also to consider the mixed method approach. Although this study encounters some limitation, it offers evidence of the main effects and the moderating effects of reciprocity in explaining and enhancing the understanding of SME owners' tax non-compliance behavior. Therefore, this study is expected to provide meaningful contributions to the government and tax authorities at enhancing the tax administration and also to increase taxpayers' level of compliance. Okay, that's all for my presentation, for my research. By that, I end with thank you. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.